Hey VC, Brother Eric here. Welcome to the Plastic Soundwave Cult. So normally at the beginning of the year, there's a vinyl tag that goes around. I didn't do that one this time, but I wanted to make sure that I did this one. This is the quarantine edition of the vinyl tag. Questions compiled by Dylan at Noble Records and Chris from, I think he's like from the Man Cave. Well, they came up with 20 questions, and I'm going to go ahead and attempt to see if I am able to do that. Okay, so number one, in the Quarantine Edition 2020 Vinyl Tag Quarantine Edition. Favorite record from your home state or city? Well, I've lived in this town for way over 30 years with like a little 3-4 year break when I lived in San Diego, but I ended up coming back here because San Diego was too crowded. So I consider Victorville my hometown, but actually Victorville has been in quite a few movies in this area, especially like in the 50s. A lot of like horror films were filmed out here. But we did have a band that actually came out of my town. I actually only have one song. I don't have anything against them. The one song I do have by them I like. I just haven't gotten around to getting the record. So much for hometown pride. But on this album here, Saturday Morning Cartoons, there's one song called I'm Popeye the Sailor Man. And on that record, you know what, I'm just going to put up a graphic for it. But on that record is Face to Face. They're from here. Number two, an album that you highly recommend. I heard about this album when it first came out a lot, but I haven't heard much of it since. But highly recommend Rock on Tour's Help a Stranger. That's a good solid album all the way through. Actually, Rock on Tours, as in general, all their albums I think are pretty solid. But this new one by them I think is their best so far. So if you get a chance, pick it up. Number three, a tip for a beginner. I'm assuming this is like a beginner at collecting records, not necessarily YouTube. Don't get taken for a ride. It's weird. There's people who collect, and then there's people who do their darndest to make money off of people who collect. Now, I'm not saying like having a record store is a bad thing. That's a good thing. But I'm talking about people who charge an extra amount of money for things because you're a collector, and somehow they, if you don't do this, you're not really a collector. So I'm talking about more like really overpriced records because it's a record. Gadgets and things like that. They just try to sell all these weird little gadgets to you that you really don't need, especially when it comes to cleaning records. And so you don't need fancy shit to clean your records. 3 parts water, 1 part 90% ibuprofen alcohol. That solution is fine for cleaning your records. You don't need a fucking spin clean. You can get a rag and do it, to me, in my mind, way faster than I could with that thing. And they charge you way too much money for that thing. The knockoff one is the right price, but like 32 bucks, and I would have given it a shot. But I already heard that that one tends to break down, and this other clean spin thing, dude. The last time I saw it, dude, it was like 80 bucks. 80 bucks for a piece of plastic is way too much. And so I'm just going to cut it off there because this could easily become a rant as opposed to a tip. 4. First record that got you into music. Well, I did listen to music before I really got into music, but the album that really got me into music Queen's News of the World. That opening track, it's one of the best opening tracks of all time. Boom, boom, psh, boom, boom, psh. You can't beat it. I heard that. It took a couple years before I could actually get it on record. Unfortunately, it was one of the records that got stolen years ago. But I do have the mini album versions from that old, I think it's Hollywood Records pressing where they did Up to the Game. Number 5, an obscure record people may not know about. This is The Spark by the Builders and the Butchers. This is a Portland-based band. Portland, Vancouver, Washington, that in that basic general area. I got the opportunity to see them live at like a little town festival. For a band that's nobody heard of, man, they put on a really good show. I mean, it takes balls to just show up to a place and you're going to play your own music. And they did. They had people dancing. It was a really cool show. And they did have the album there. So I bought the album. Luckily, I had an inside. My friend who I went to go visit, it was his cousin that's in this band. He's not on this record, but nonetheless, he did help with the live performance there. And yeah, they put on a really good show. And the music is really good. The way I would describe it is like electric garage folk. It's really good, really earthy, good stories in the songs. Yeah, I think they're on Bandcamp, but you can look on Discogs too to find it. But yeah, a really good album from a band that probably hardly anybody's ever heard of. 6, a group or artist that you collect all of their albums, or at least try. For me, that would be, there's a couple right now. One is obviously the O.C.'s. The other one is King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard. I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. That's just one of them. I believe I've got 9 or 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 9 of their albums actually. So I got 9 of their albums. They're just really good. They mix it up. They do a nice job of mixing it up. I'm probably right now about halfway through getting all of their records. But they're a fairly new band, so their albums aren't too obscure, and they do re-release them on a regular basis through their label Flightless Records. And more about this album a little bit later. So 7, a band whose second album is better than their first. I would have to go with Everything But the Girl. I would show you their first album, but I don't have it because I like this one much better. This is Love Not Money. If you get a chance to get this one or the album after this, get it. Great, great band. Alright, show and tell. Uh, do a whack-a-mole, which instead of 5, I guess we're just going to do 1. I'm going to do it the same way that I did it for my my entry into Mazzy's contest. I'm going to do it. Make sure it's random. Oh, Minor Threat. Minor Threat, complete discography. So apparently I got all of their songs. Great punk band. I love Filler. There's Small Man, Big Mouth, Straight Edge, Guilty of Being White, Steppin' Stone. They actually got the rockinest version of Steppin' Stone. Cashin' In, Stumped, Good Guys, Salad Days. Yeah, this is their album and I think a few EPs, Out of Step. All smacked together. Excellent 80s punk rock. Ian MacKaye. Actually, there's several different versions of this. I knew somebody who had a yellow version of this. So I think there's a red one, a yellow one, and a blue one as far as I know. And that's either on CD or on vinyl too. And I still believe that, yeah, these are pressed by Discord. So this is total DIY punk here. These guys did it the way they wanted to, did it how they saw fit, and were able to make a decent living just doing it. Of course, Ian MacKaye later became a member of Fugazi, and that's a whole other set of good music. So yeah, Minor Threat, the complete discography. Whack-a-mole. Number 9. What album have you listened to the most in your life? It would either be between Queen, the first Queen, New Order, Substance 1987. I still play that a ton. I think that version of Temptation 87 is incredible. I like it way better than the original version. And the other one would have to be Sublime, 40 Ounces to Freedom. It's almost for years it's been my, I gotta drive a long way in the car. That's a great album to be in the car in and start it. And you listen to it if you know, it's a little over an hour away. You can listen to that whole Stream of Conscious album the whole time you're traveling there. So it's a nice long album with tons of short songs. Yeah, I still think it's the best album of the 90s. I know a lot of people don't like Sublime. Fuck it, I don't care. I think they're great. It's the fact that they're so simple that makes them so good. 10. Show an album with a crazy story. Alright, so a few videos ago I talked about how I got this album and it has this name scrawled on it. I did do a little bit more digging on it. Turns out that I was able to seek someone out who knows John Dwyer enough to say whether he would think it's his signature or not. And the reply was pretty much, no, you probably got a resold record, which is fine. But I do got a weird little story, and it actually got me to end up ordering Damaged Bug, and I'm going to be getting another album that I want to talk about once I get a chance here in the future. But yeah, it was kind of weird searching that and looking that up and getting somebody that I was pretty sure that they knew what they were talking about. So, yeah. So it's not that crazy of a story, but it's crazy to me. Like, that's all that matters. 11. You're collecting pet peeves. Um, to tell you the truth, I wish they had a much, much better grading system. The grading system that they have now is too many gaps. Where you go from mint down to near mint, which seems like not that far of a skip. And then when you jump down to very good plus, um, I mean, you're looking at 50% of what the top value is of mint. Um, the way things are done, I think if it had more categories in there, where like you could find much easier, because there's a lot of open ground in between all of those gradings, and really what the community should do is figure out a better grading system. Because when you have something that's called good and in all actuality it's pretty bad, that's just stupid. It confuses new people to the hobby, and I think kind of that's what it's there for, more for sellers than it is for buyers. Um, I think that it needs to be restructured for buyers and not for sellers. Have it where maybe like there's much more gradient in between, you know, because there's big step offs just from very good plus to very good, and then from very good to good plus. You know, it just it seems like it skips too much. It should, I don't know, but to me, when it goes from, there needs to be something between very good plus and mint. And I know people say very good plus plus, but there's a lot of records out there that have probably been played once, pulled out, and I guess that can be considered mint. But I have records that I've probably played 20 times, and they still would sound great on anybody else's if I sold it, but it would be very good plus. I mean, I set everything I own to very good plus, because really when you look at the standards for mint and near mint, they're almost impossible. And they need to be there for the extreme, but to me it's just too far of a drop off from the extreme up here down to where the middle ground is. There's a lot of gray area, and I just, it makes it easier. So they had to describe it, you know, something that describes it more. You know, surface what plays well, surface with no noise. You know, things like that. That would be much more helpful in a grading system, because then you also know that it has been played. Because a mint record technically should have never been played. And if it's a sealed mint, then how do you know? And that's what I'm saying. Just because it's sealed, it's mint, it's stupid. All right, that's enough of that. Don't want to get political. An album or genre people would be surprised you like. Okay, I've seen like Bad Religion probably like 5 or 6 times, and I don't go to necessarily a lot of concerts anymore, but I went to a lot back in like the early '90s. And another band that I got into was a swing band that I saw live, and I've probably seen them like 5 or 6 times too. My favorite swing band, Royal Crown Review. Live in Australia, excellent, excellent album. Walk on Fire, great, great album. The Contender. I've seen these guys where I paid a decent amount of money, and I've seen them at like high schools where they played for band students, and anybody in the public was allowed to go. They do great, great versions of old favorites. Yeah, I really dig swing music. Brian Setzer, he's great. I like Glenn Miller. I got some of those original stuff. Who else do I got? To me, swing music was an early stepping stone to rock and roll. And it's just like, if you like history at all, you go back in time and you see how things progress from one thing to another to another. I mean, music is really just like a big, you know, branching tree, and it all just goes off and becomes this, becomes that. But you can eventually take all of those and probably whittle it down to the very first song, which was probably number 13, a record from the year you were born. Well, I don't know if it's telling about you at all. Records that came out when you were born that you actually have. I surprisingly only have 4. Now, I have records from that era, but were like on CD, so I try to go with a record. I have a repress of Bob Dylan's first album, but I got this. I'm a sucker for the Carpenters. I think her voice is just angelic. I love it. Again, unfortunately, she's not with us today, but this is from 1970, the year I was born. I think I was born just a little bit after the Beatles broke up. Number 14, show a 10-inch record and or share your opinion. I don't have a single 10-inch record. My opinion on it is I haven't really deliberately searched it out. I mean, I guess some old shellac records would be 10 inches, but like a modern 10-inch. I do have an automatic turntable, so it would be weird because I'd have to do it manually. And I'd have to think about it because I'm so used to hitting the button. So I'd have to be careful since I have an automatic turntable. I'd have to really concentrate on what I was doing. 15. Share an interesting fact about an album or song. Well, I got 3. We're going back to King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard. You have this album here, which is supposedly a part of a trilogy. You see this mountain right here. It is also on this album here. This is Infinity Nonagon. And the mountain appears at the bottom of this picture right here. These are considered to be a trilogy. How tight that trilogy is, I don't know. To me, these albums sound all very different. Because this is a spoken word. A lot of it is spoken word with music behind it. So they have a narrator, and then he sings the song. This one here is set up if you have it downloaded on your phone and you actually have loop album. This will keep going, and so the last song blends seamlessly into the first song. And so when you listen to it, you can listen, and I've done it where you just listen to it kind of over and over in the car, and it just keeps on going. And this album here is kind of more of got a lot more psychedelic elements in it. Again, King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard are known for their just skipping around on genres, Whereas I always like Queen because you would hear several different genres on their album. The Beatles' White Album is great, I think, because it has several different genres of music on it. King Gizzard take it to the next level, and they'll do a whole album in a genre. And then they'll do their next album in a whole different genre. So if you're willing to take a plunge with these guys, for me, it doesn't really disappoint. I like all the stuff I've heard from them so far. So again, that's one of the reasons why they're back on question. Why do you collect, a discography of all one band? This is one of the reasons. They got weird little stories with their records. Number 16. Show an album with an animal on it. I mean, I got a ton. This is one of the prettiest albums, I think. It's got bees on it. Bees count as an animal. Yeah, this album is great. Slow, dirgy, very melodic. Resonance. I've talked about this album before. It's just, it takes up the entire space in your room and just expands it out. It's a mind blower. It's great. I love it. The bees made honey in a lion's skull. Oh yeah, there's two animals on here. Number 17. Show an album with crazy artwork. Tool. Take your pick. I think they're marketing geniuses. And I do. I really like their music. I even like the last album. It kind of got shit on by the critics, but I think it's really good. The whole thing is one giant experience for the new album. That's this one, Fear Inoculum, and I got the version that you can open up, and it's got the thing, and it's got the shit. So yeah, their stuff is just crazy. So that's the full picture. I was able to get that on vinyl. Undertow I still need to get on vinyl, but that's got some crazy shit in it. In fact, I have the version of this a lot of people don't know about, because this is still the original case that I have it in. Okay, you've got the CD. You got that. There's a hidden picture underneath this. I can't believe I'm doing this one-handed. Okay, got it off. This is your hidden photograph underneath. There's no way to see it unless you take that off or it breaks off. So, I don't know if that can... Hopefully I don't get cut off on this video. Alright, so we've got this album here. Most people put the fuzzy little TV thing that, you know, that kind of... It's a square that looks like a TV. I like this one better. I like eyes. So that's some crazy fucking album cover shit. They're DVD singles. Ladderless was kind of tame. I got it back there. It's transparent. So as you go through it, so there's the spiritualness of it, I guess. This is, I believe, Alex Gray. So it goes all the way through the guy. The neat thing about these pictures is when you have the album, which is that right there, they're picture discs. And they have the picture of this guy, and it doesn't say what the sides are, but you can figure it out because, like this here, so that's like side 1, side 2, side 3, side 4. Alright, so this is one of my favorites too. It's their DVD single for Vicarious. Right, Vicarious. Well, there's nothing on there, but as you can see, that, you know, it's got the telescopic lens like 10,000 Days, and it opens up, so that matches this picture here on the inside. It comes with stereographic pictures. Let me turn this over. The whole thing is just put together really, really well. All of their shit is crazy. Awesome. Number 18. Show a really good record that you can find cheap. You know what? I find it's cheap a lot of times, and they're original copies because they made a ton. Actually, you know what? You don't have to pay too much for Meet the Beatles. This is an original copy. I think they go for like around 20 to 25 bucks because they made millions of them. Good album, comes out at a decent price. From what I can see, in mint condition, 20 to 25 bucks, you're doing good. Number 19. Show an album with an acquired taste. I would have to go with this one. Daughters. It took a few spins to get used to this one. I do like it. I like to. It's one of the records that I tend to play more when I'm here by myself and the family's gone, because it is basically noise rock. Yeah, if you're really pissed off, actually, this album really hits the spot. You feel kind of calmed down. Because if you can stay a little bit calmer than the guy singing the songs, you're doing okay. Daughters, I think this came out in 2018? Probably 2019. I don't know. You'll see the screen. But Daughters, this album is called You Won't Get What You Want. So, 20, show your most recent find. Well, that would be this one, which I did that video on The House Carpenter. That's a song that's on here. And I literally got this album in like 15 minutes after I uploaded that video. But I have gotten another album since then that took quite a while to get here. I finally got the repress of Rammstein Sehnsucht, which is a German word for nostalgia. So this is what I've been actually listening to the last couple of days. Actually, no, the last day. This came in yesterday, finally. So I didn't think that this would come in before the video would be done. Sehnsucht, Engel, Tier, Bestrafe mich, I have no, or mich. Du hast, everybody's got to know du hast. Durch dich, Spiel, I'm not even going to try to pronounce these. I'm pretending. I really am. I do know what saying Nacht is, but I tend to say it like in a Dutch accent. I'm Dutch, not Deutsch. I'm basically half Scottish and half Dutch. And so yeah, my notes, I had this down as coming, but it came yesterday, and so instead of shooting this video, I digitized this album and listened to it. And then I had the new Damaged Bug album coming in, and if that comes in before I get this all edited together, I'll just slip that in the end. But yeah, I can't say Rammstein. I have to say Rammstein. So, okay, thank you, Dylan and the Man Cave, for coming up with the questions for this vinyl tag. Um, as I've been doing this, I've been figured I'll title this one Quarantäg. I'll put the little umlauts on the top too. So yeah, hopefully that's a pretty cool video there. Answered all those questions. The only thing I didn't really have was the 10-inch record. So yeah, cool vinyl tag. I was gonna try to do the old one, but I didn't know whether there was an official one or a non-official one. Where it got changed at, I don't know. But that pretty much killed it for me. So this one here is pretty clear, so I figured I'd go ahead and give it a shot. Vinyl tags are a good way to get to know each other. I've been finding it really interesting. Watching your guys' video on it and seeing your guys' taste in music. I learn a lot on all of these things. I find new stuff every day. I watch YouTube watching the VC. So yeah, that's my Quarantäg. It ain't just about the music.